So welcome back, guys, and for the newbies, thank you for being here at GCCM 2025 with a full stage, a full podium with only senior experts sitting next to me, and I'll give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. And we're going to talk today about, help me now here,
conversational AI
as well. Yes,
adding value in the wholesale carrier stack.
How will you do this?
Exactly.
You're going to tell us later on, right?
Sorry, Bartos.
Because David will do an
Rookie mistake.
Newbie, newbie. Anyway, we're going to listen later to you with the presentation because as well you're sponsoring this session as well with Simwood. So thank you so much. Talking about the global wholesale telco and mobile roaming industry in the digital transformation age, right? So they were already. I got complaints about the long sentences of the name of the panel discussions, but okay, it is what it is, right? First of all, I would again like to thank you, audience, for being here. For the people online, thank you for joining. And again, interesting and senior experts next to me, and I'll give them a quick minute to introduce themselves, starting with Marianne.
Thank you. Marianne Verselon, I'm a telecommunication regulatory affairs expert. So we focus at Mamam.io Consulting on helping our partners, digital players and operators into navigating the cross-border and fast-moving regulations. So really providing curated advice to help them grow on different markets.
Okay, thank you, Marianne, and welcome to the panel here. So she's the lawyer in the house. So watch it now, huh, guys? Make sure you, let's be very nice here. Nas, over to you.
Are we going ladies first?
Hey, I'm old school, you know this.
I'm Nasia Skulkariti. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the CEO and founder of Apiro Data and recently TechStage Hub. We are a service organization enabling wholesalers, MNOs of how to thrive and survive the age of AI, and not only, just a couple things.
There you go. Jimmy?
My name is Jimmy Jones. I'm the head of security at a company called Zariat. Zariat are a IoT MVNO. We just do IoT connectivity. And our unique go-to-market is value adds, so around security and roaming. And we achieve that by using our sister company's technologies, a company called Cellysys. We have our own core network, but then we take our sister companies' roaming solutions, security solutions, deep packet inspection, et cetera, and we use that to build real value to our end customers.
Okay, thank you so much. Federico?
Hello, everyone. My name is Federico from Deutsche Telekom, T Wholesale. So I'm doing business development there, more on the strategic side.
Okay, thank you. Stuart?
Yes, my name is Stuart Evers. I have a couple of hats on here at the conference, but I guess I will be Digital Silkway Europe today, and very interested in what the guys are going to have to say because we have an AI routing manager. So we don't have a person. It's used just solely on AI. So it'd be interesting to see what you have to say, and then maybe we can discuss a bit more. So it should be interesting.
Okay. Yes, David?
Good afternoon. My name's David Duffett. I work for Simwood. We're a straight-talking, forward-thinking wholesale carrier, and we do all the things you'd expect a wholesale carrier to do, and quite a few that you wouldn't as well.
Okay, and you have some curveballs up your sleeve today for us?
I hope we can have a little bit of early afternoon fun, really, because we need more fun in these events, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. So if I may invite you to go to the stand and, just take it away and let us know. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, I mean, you're full of questions. I know this. And you just ask, okay? Let's make this interactive. David, over to you.
Yeah, friendliness and interaction is what it's all about, Eric. Right, thank you. Okay, so what I'd like to talk to you about is adding value in the wholesale carrier stack. And by way of an introduction, my name's David, as we already learned. I'm the corporate ambassador at Simwood, and beyond being a straight-talking and forward-thinking wholesale carrier, we are also API native. In other words, anything that you want to do with Simwood can be done through a friendly API. We're also IP native. So rather than being a kind of legacy telecoms carrier that's got a lot of E1s and old-fashioned stuff kicking around. Our core is 100% IP. If we've got any TDM, it's just to help people connect to us that have got legacy equipment. Now, the challenge that we're all facing is how to add value. I think Jimmy mentioned adding value, that you rely on adding value. We all need to add value in order to get paid. And in the carrier world, traditionally, that's all been around moving minutes from one place to another. But when we think about how we can add value, you can see there's quite a few different ways. We've got a lot of information that we can use for analysis. And you'll notice under both information and analysis, I've got the word VCons. Has anybody ever heard of VCons? I like it, Federico. Well, you heard it here first then. VCons means virtualized conversation. It's like a PDF or a V card for a phone conversation. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a phone conversation. It could be a conversation at the desk of a car dealer or something like that. But it's a portable format where you can store not only the conversation itself in the form of a recording or a transcription, but you can also store all the metadata about it. And all of this is in a format that makes it very, very digestible as food for AI engines. And so expect to hear a lot more about virtualized conversations in the future. Some people think it's going to transform our industry in the same way that SIP did a few years ago. So something to watch out for. We can also offer integrations. We can do collaborations like calendar integration and things like that, and workflow improvements. But when do we want to do it? Well, the answer is now, really. And just by way of a reminder why we want to do it now, and that is because minute revenue, for reasons that have been discussed many times in forums like these, is heading in a certain direction. And that's due to, in fact, it was discussed in the MMS talk earlier, wasn't it? Over-the-top services, WhatsApp, Messenger, and things like that. And so if we can put a stake in the ground and stem that flow, we can introduce some value-add services to see that revenue going back up. So that's the point of adding value. However, not all carriers are created equally. Some carriers have approached building their infrastructure by buying different boxes. So when somebody says, I need call recording, they buy a call recording box. When somebody says, oh, we need an SBC for one reason or another, they go out and buy an SBC box. When somebody says, we need MS Teams integration, oh, they'll get an MS Teams integration box. In other words, they end up with a lot of boxes, and these things all have to be cobbled together. They've all got maintenance costs, they've all got hardware costs or software license fees that go with them. And so that makes it a challenging model when you're trying to create value to add. I want to suggest a different paradigm to you. I want to suggest thinking about the Spotify of the carrier world. Imagine a machine that's built on open standards, and so you can create and distribute must-have functionality anywhere you want it, globally. If it's API driven, then anybody can choose to use it at any time they want by working through the API. And rather than having a subscription model where people have to pay for things whether they're using them or not, how about paying for things on a per call basis whether they're actually needed? When they're actually needed, rather than any other time. Now, we've developed something along those lines, but I'm holding that up as a general example. Our one is called the potato, mainly because it looks rather like a potato. There's a picture of something that looks like a potato. It's our globally distributed core. And remember I was saying it was IP native, it was API driven. It's a homogeneous core that's there, distributed around the world, wherever people need it. And as you can see, the potato has got different layers around it. And we can do all sorts of things. Now, I'm going to come on to an AI demo, and some people use AI for sentiment analysis after the fact with calls. Some people use it for nuisance call detection and prevention. It's used in various places like billing analysis and things like that. But we've got a few different parts of AI in this, but you can see on the left-hand side, we've got all sorts of other things there as well. And here's the bigger picture, because then when you add in the connectivity, whether that's connectivity to standard SIP that we're all used to, or old-fashioned PSTN, or a little bit of Zoom, or a little bit of Teams, then you can see you get this amazing connectivity coupled with all of the different functionality that's there. Now, I do want to draw your attention to this one, the AI agents. Now, a lot of people are talking about AI agents, and you kind of expect that you're going to see an AI agent demo somewhere or other. The difference is that I'd like to show you is you can make it easy. You can bring AI to people without them having to have a PhD in electronics or AI or computer science, and you can make it easily and rapidly deployable as well. Now, what we've done is we put something together that's GUI driven. I'm going to show you the GUI that creates it before we do the demo. However, the GUI that I'm going to show you, our portal, is built on top of the API. And so anything I do in the portal, you can actually do programmatically through the API if you'd like to. And so I just want to talk you through the kind of things that you need to tell it. Well, be good to choose a language and a voice so we know which kind of dimension the conversational AI is going to operate in. We can also specify things like the opening prompt, what the AI is going to say first. And you can see there's a range of other things like personality, tone, even guardrails as well. So keeping data safe and things like that. And then at the bottom, perhaps a very important part, supplying the knowledge, because it's one thing having an AI engine. It's another thing actually exposing the AI engine to some knowledge that it can convey. And so what I'm going to do now is come off the slideshow, go to the Simwood portal and show you this. This, as you can see, is a portal for wholesale carriers. And you can see you've got all the kind of things that you would expect wholesale carriers to want to deal with, like trunk management, inbound numbers, all sorts of things, porting numbers. And then come down here and look, we've got AI voice agents near the bottom there. And I've got a few different AI agents that I've created. The one I'm going to demonstrate to you is CC Info, Carrier Community Info. And you can see there that I've given her an English language. The voice is Cassidy, and I can tell you that Cassidy is an American English speaker. And then I've given her a starting phrase, and I've given her a little bit of programming there. That's just a prompt. So if you've ever heard people talk about prompt engineering, that's effectively what that is. There's other aspects that we can just use the defaults for. All of those are defaults. I've not changed anything. And then the last thing is that knowledge. So what I've done, in order to make this a bit relevant, is created a demo that's going to be like the carrier community information line. And she's only looking at these four things. She's looking at the Europe GCCM webpage. She's looking at the carrier community LinkedIn page, the carrier community homepage, and just for good measure, Eric's LinkedIn profile. Because you never know, do you? You never know. So let's have a go. As I always say at the beginning of demos, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. And so I want you to bear in mind that we're on some we're on some hotel Wi-Fi, we're on a speaker system, we're not in a traditional telephony environment, but I'm going to have a go anyway. So let me minimize this and get my soft phone up. And what you're going to notice me doing is furtively muting, because I don't want her to hear herself coming through the speaker system and get confused. So I'm going to check this out. So let's have a go. And bear in mind that she's only got access to those web pages that I just showed you.
Hey there, it's Anna at the Carrier Community. How can I help you today?
Well, I was hoping you could tell me about the benefits of being a member, please.
Absolutely. Being a Carrier Community member is fantastic. We offer a great platform for networking, business development, and staying updated with industry news. You can connect with peers at our events and online, discuss business opportunities, publish articles, and even advertise your company. We also have the Global Carrier Community Meetings, or GCCM, in different regions, and specialized summits focusing on specific areas like enterprise or mobile messaging. Does that sound interesting? Oh, and if you ever attend one of our panel discussions or presentations, keep an eye out for Eric Van Stockum. He's our ambassador and often moderates. He's got such a great conversational style. Would you like to know more about any of these benefits in particular? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you please clarify what you meant by the other? Oh, sorry, are you still there?
I'm still here. You're talking way too much. Tell me more about Eric.
Okay, I'll keep it shorter. Eric Van Stockum is our amazing Carrier Community Ambassador. He's a senior executive with tons of experience in telecommunications and is great at identifying growth opportunities. He's also a regular speaker and moderator at telecom conferences. I think he's great, and I'm even thinking of starting an Eric Van Stockum fan club. What do you think? Would that be a good idea?
I'd love it. In fact, I'd like to be a founding member. How much does it cost?
A lot.
I'm so glad you're as enthusiastic about Eric as I am. However, I'm just an AI and don't have the ability to set up fan clubs or handle any finances related to that. But if you're interested in the carrier community, I can certainly help with that. Would you like to know more about our membership benefits or events? I can also get you signed up for our newsletter to keep you in the loop.
Yeah, okay, we'll come to that in a minute, but I've just got an idea for the Eric fan club. How about we give everybody that joins a t-shirt with Eric's face on it?
That's a fantastic idea. I'm sure everyone would love an Eric t-shirt. I think he's got a great fashion sense, so I'm sure he'd approve. But just to be clear, I'm an AI and can't actually set up the fan club or arrange for t-shirts. However, I can take your idea and pass it on to someone who might be able to make it happen. In the meantime, would you like me to provide you with some information about the carrier community?
Well, I've gone on for too long already. So listen, coincidentally, I'm actually at a GCCM event right now doing this demonstration, but I want to give you my name and email address just so you can get me signed up for the newsletter. Is that okay?
That's great that you're at a GCCM event. I hope you're having a fantastic time and that you get to see Eric in action. Yes, absolutely. I can get you signed up for the newsletter. Could you please provide me with your name and email address?
Yeah, it's David Duffett, and my email address is david.duffett@simwood.com.
Thanks, David. I've got your name and email address down as david.duffett@simwood.com. You're now signed up for the Carrier Community Newsletter. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No, I think that's going to do it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, David. It was a pleasure assisting you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the GCCM event. And remember, think about the Eric Van Stockham fan club. Have a great day.
Okay, you get the idea. Right, let me just come back. So as you can see, we just gave it a little bit of information. It kind of ran with it, didn't it? It's quite intuitive. Just want to finish off by saying Pete over there, look, there's Pete raising his hand now, and the rest of the Simwood, well, not all of the Simwood team, but a handful of Simwood people are here. And so do drop by and have a little word with us about the art of the possible in terms of adding value in the carrier stack. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, David. And but next time, forget the Eric part, please. Yeah, because why you're laughing? It's not funny. No, it was not funny. Anyway, so well, very interesting. Any questions for? Any questions? Of course, Nas. Of course. Of course.
I loved it. I play a lot with AI agents, and voice agents is the most, I'd say, intuitive in many ways. But are you using them only as bots to answer a question, or are you actually using this agent to answer sales calls?
It's possible to answer sales calls. That one, sorry. It's possible to answer sales calls. It depends on the information that you give it.
You give it.
But where we see a lot of value being added is combining this with call control so that you can have a digital receptionist that could actually not only have a really detailed conversation, but potentially distribute information without you needing to talk to anybody else. But if you do, they can put you through. And just as importantly, they can put you through and pass on all the information that they've gathered, so you don't have that annoying thing of having to explain situations to the next person along.
I liked in your presentation, you mentioned that we're moving into the conversational AI era. I would take it a step further, and I would say we're actually moving into agentic era, agentic messaging, that is. And I think you guys are having the right idea right there.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
By agentic messaging.
You,
so David, so is this agent, is it possible that it can work, it can replace somebody working, for example, as a receptionist in a doctor's or something like that?
Sorry. Don't give him the mic because he starts singing. You know, don't do this.
It is on, I think.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? So Keith Shillingford, for those who don't know me yet. Yeah, so the first one for you, David, is can it replace somebody, for example, working at an exchange somewhere, a call center, something like that, working as taking somebody's place, works as receptionist?
It's entirely possible. It depends on how you want to do it. Different companies would implement it in different ways. So, for instance, they might put it on the end of a phone number where it's designed to get people information quickly and send it out to them by email or text. On the other hand, they might also program it to say, listen, it sounds like you need to talk to a person, really. Let me put you through. Okay. So it really depends on how people want to use it. There was a question for you in there as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, but I will add to what you said, David, because I think it's very important what he asked is, yes, the answer is you can have it replace a receptionist, and it's happening today. You probably heard of the company Klarna, right? They went full AI with full AI agents, and then they realized that they had to scale it back a little bit because they gave too much to AI. So they introduced, partially AI, partially human element, just so they can keep the emotional, the emotions of the person, because the agents, the AI agents, they cannot be connect with you as an individual on the emotional level. You heard the demo, it will answer all the questions, it can have a little bit of fun, but it cannot sympathize with you or empathize with you. That's why Klarna, not yet, you will, and it's getting there. So you can do that. You can do it on the receptionist. It works very well. What I've seen, the biggest use case for you guys, or one of the big use cases of what it is, it replaces the chatbots on the websites at the moment. So instead of just having either an AI chatbot with you typing or just somebody replacing, you have an actual video conversation or an AI conversation with the agent itself.
Yeah, if I could just add one little thing. Imagine if you created it to be an outbound sales agent and it said, I've rung up to sell Eric's services. I'm an AI. Don't worry, I don't get too emotional. You can tell me exactly what you think. Can you imagine how that would be a quicker conversation than passing the time of day and, being worried about offending somebody? So there are some advantages to this, I think.
I know this is not our show, but I want to answer his other question, which was about what I mean by agentic messaging.
Yeah.
Right? The way that I've seen the timeline of the messaging, right? We started with P2P, A2P, then now we have conversational messaging, which is, of course, is rich messaging with RCS and so on and so forth. And the additional layers of adding AI on top of it. Where I see messaging going in the agentic era is exactly this. It wouldn't be a text message that we are sending to our customers to communicate. It will be a conversation, right? An agent communicating and propagating, either making a phone call to give you your OTP, but I don't think they will be OTPs in the future. Different story, different conversation. But when it comes to marketing, it will be conversations like this. You will be getting on the phone with your customer and you will giving them the value of what they need and what the customers need, rather than just buy this stuff or swipe left or right.
The agent will be doing
The agent will be doing, and that's what I mean by that.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Keith, for your question. Really cool. Talking about, guys, our industry in the digital transformation age. What do we see around us? Maybe Jimmy, from your side, maybe you can bump in. What do we see around us? What's the current situation, and what challenges are we facing?
I mean, digital transformation is happening. Obviously, all connectivity is core. Cellular is there because we're a trusted source. I think the challenges we're seeing is we're not involved enough as an industry. That is not just individual companies. I think we need to understand that it's not just connectivity. We can't be siloed into that position, because otherwise you end up just bringing technology for technology's sake. I think we have to understand that we're part of an ecosystem. So if you look at IoT, that's where we work, obviously. Every IoT, while there's millions of different use cases, they all have the same DNA. They all have the device, the network, and the application, and they all have to work together. And we're in the middle there, trying to connect those two elements. We should be in the middle of the conversation as well, because otherwise what we're doing is we're just dropping it opposite of what you're doing. We're not adding value. We're just sitting there doing our bit, looking at our data rates, looking at how we work, but we're not actually contributing to the end goal. I think if we move more into sort of collaborative sales, adding value, which is exactly what Zariat's go-to-market is, if you can be involved in those conversations and help and maybe rub off some of the sharp edges between the device communication with the application, which is exactly what the middle part and Cisco and Juniper do in IP, then that's something that I think is really important. But we need to make people aware that it actually exists, because the enterprise sees us as a dumb pipe. Until we are in the conversation and say, actually, we could give you access to that. We know we can use an API to say, this is what your network connection rate's like or your speeds are like, then developers will get involved. Once developers get involved, then they can start using things like AI, then it can use things like SDKs. And I think that's where we need to be involved.
Okay. Future market challenges in our evolving industry. And so Federico, what's your, of course, being with one of the big guys, what do you see around you?
Starting with the voice business, obviously there are challenges with OTTs, with voice over IP, termination rates going down, and all this is happening faster than at least we anticipated. So this is number one. On the messaging side, we have artificially inflated traffic. We have loss of trust from because there are, guys using gray routes, dropping messages and stuff, but selling very cheap. So that has an impact on the industry as a whole. And actually all this is pushing like users of one-time passwords towards alternative technologies because they're safer, they know what they're paying and so on. If we're lucky, we can participate there by number verify APIs or this whole new API ecosystem that operators are trying to launch here, but that remains to be seen. It's still early days there, and it's not a threat; it's an opportunity. The threat is more, if we mess this up, then we leave this market to where we left the CPaaS market 10, 12, 15 years ago. To the aggregators out there, to the Cinches and so on. So we better get this right.
Okay, so getting your act together, that's actually what you're saying. Fast enough, because large operators, I come from one, it's not always the easiest task. Right?
We have not the best history in working together, and we have not the best history, in acting fast as, as industry.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Stuart, listening to a couple of those challenges, how to cope with the navigating shifts in consumer behaviors, and then Mariana, I'll come to the regulatory thingies, pressures with which there are. But first, Stuart, what's your take on it?
So I think we in the telecoms wider industry, we are kind of in an existential bind at the moment because many of us believe that we're in the telecommunications industry, which we're not. If you think about why the telephone was invented, what people use telephone for, they use it for exchanging information. If you see what we do as enabling information exchange, it's very different than believing you work for a telecoms company. A telecoms company is an enabler of that, but it's not a means to its end. There's a very famous example of this with Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments, you may know the calculator creators, back in the early 1900s, they were abacus makers. And their biggest rival was bigger than them, but their mission statement was to make abacuses. So when the abacus was replaced, they went out of business. Texas Instruments, and it's the clues in their name, their objective was to solely provide people with solutions for addition and complex maths solutions. And they survived, and they still exist today. And I think that's sort of something where we are right now. The information, so Federico quite rightly mentioned the fact that minutes are declining. There's all sorts of reasons for that, which has been talked exhaustively here and in other conferences. But the amount of information is increasing. increasing exponentially on a daily basis. So if you go back to our conversation this morning as well, so what does that mean? We need bigger pipes, we need bigger data centers, we need bigger storage, we need compliance with regard to the managing and the safeguarding of that data. So there are opportunities. So for example, when we founded Digital Silkway Europe, our first interconnections were not with other telcos, but actually with the OTT providers, because and majority of the traffic that we carry is from these guys, because we are exchanging that information. So if you look at the total number of bytes of information, because it's all bytes now, right? Nobody really uses analog communications anymore. That's increasing. The share that Deutsche Telekom and Orange and all the big guys have is decreasing, but the overall share is increasing. And if you reorientate your mission statement to be that we are carriers and enablers of that information, then you will find it much easier to adapt and to have solutions that will bring you new revenue streams. If you continue to believe that you're only a telecommunications provider, then you will ultimately suffer and maybe even die. We see this with Vodafone, for example. You know, if you look at Vodafone, the size they were 15 years ago to how big they are today, right? I mean, one of the companies I'm on the board of in Azerbaijan, they actually bought Vodafone Ukraine. Not ideal timing before the war, but nonetheless. So Vodafone, and so these guys are expanding, Vodafone is decreasing. So I would say, sorry if that was too long an answer, but I'd say that we need to reorientate our mission and what we do, because that information is growing and we need to adapt to how we carry that. And then there's new revenues and there's a long-term sustainable future for us.
Okay, no, but Federico, please, I know you will be here next year as well. So whatever.
I won't come.
There you go. Talking about the digital landscape we're in, Marianne, and the regulatory pressures which are there, and Stuart already kindly dropped on that and tipped on it. What do you see around you, and even more, I mean, the challenges that you see from your expertise, but also what should we change? I mean, you see it from a sort of a helicopter view, right? And we are just in our little thingy day in, day out, and we think a lot. And as Stuart said, yeah, telecommunications, yeah, we think that we are, while everything and everybody around us is, passing us, going much faster in their time to market. So what do you see?
That's a very interesting question, actually, and I will echo to enriching conversation, enriching the customer journey, and this is all about the single market, digital market in Europe. And really here, we talk a lot about regulatory pressure, but what it is about, especially for industry, I don't think right now our industry is over-regulated. We see a lot of disruption with the AI technology. We see Klarna going full AI. But this conversation about being AI first, AI native, it brings this AI fluency trend that actually just block the question of can we question why and for which use case we should use AI? We should have AI literacy. We should be able to actually have this level of critically thinking about new technology, where we want to add value. How do we want the CXO suite to think the vision and the objectives of the telcos, of the digital players, and everyone will have actually a piece of the cake to a certain extent. But to arrive to this, we need to capitalize on really what I would call the value added of the technology. So I talked about AI literacy. If you take, I will make an analogy, back in 1995, so I know we're not the same generation, but
Oh, thank you. No, that was exactly what I needed. You know, again, it's
Your fan club and have a T-shirt. I will wear a T-shirt next time. But when I'm saying like my dad was so into technology, and we had a computer. We were the first one to have actually a computer in the school. So it was so incredible at the time, 1995. 2005, as a worker, you needed to have a competitive edge. You needed actually to master internet. You needed this. This was expected from you. Nowadays, we all know how to send an email and use internet. And this, and I'm gonna go with this analogy, 2025 is the same with AI. We are just learning about AI. It's very early stage. Your demo was incredible, but the AI agent, we can see that actually is not full to the end of the technology. And this is important that we think about training, about how we want to deploy responsible AI. And that actually goes further than the regulation. And this is critically for the business right now, for the telcos, it's very important that we think about this responsible AI framework practices so we can actually leverage the value added of the technology. There is no need to actually go full on, jump on the gun and implement the technology if we are not able to deliver something which actually is safe for the customer, and more than safe, that actually be trusted by the customer.
all right. And David, before I let you comment on this one, so how can we take it to the next level then? Because you mentioned, I think, 18 and a half challenges just now, right? And that's only just a little bit, the tip of the iceberg of the challenges which are there. How should we approach it, and what should we do, and what would you advise, let's say, the operators, the telcos, the service providers which are in this industry, what and how to do it? What would be your message to them? And now you listen, guys.
Yes,
Huh?
please. So this is very easy, actually. You just implement governance. We had this with privacy. We had this with data protection. We want a better customer journey. We wanted to collect. We are sitting on a gold mine of data, actually, but we needed these privacy policies and governance. This is the same with AI. Actually, there is data protection aspects of AI. We are collecting, we are going to use it and to make this a very tailored and customized customer journey. So really the message here for the telcos, the digital players, is really to think about your governance, think about your policy, think about how you want to implement it and how you want to train. This is not to replace workers, it is to augment, really to augment humans. I've heard about, can it actually take the place of a human? Can it be in the call centers and you don't need workforce as Klarna? Well, I think maybe we should think about AI on how it will augment people and the workforce.
It's same like in the car industry. When the robots came in, everybody thought they would be out of work. Look at now, right? There are more people working in the car industry than ever before. Nasia, you wanted to?
Yeah, a couple things in addition. Very well said, Marianne. And you mentioned that we have to get used to it. Like it took. I'll give you some simple information. It took us 5 years to get the internet as a household name. It's taken AI less than 2 years to become a household name. What does that mean for the industry and what we need to do? It's moving faster than any of us expected, even myself. You know, what the previous panels and speeches that I was doing earlier this year, I would say we have 5 years. We have 1.5 to 2 years to reach a point. And yes, AI is not ready. It's not 100% there, but it's exponentially growing by 10x every 6 months. And not just me making up these numbers. This is what the people who are training the AI out there are showing. It's growing faster and faster. Can it replace the humans? I like the augmentation, cooperation, becoming, you know, our agent to work along with us. So literacy is key for all of us. guardrails around how AI executes and what AI is allowed to do. You mentioned having the what AI can do, the documentation within the company. It's very important because guarantee you, every single employee is using and playing with AI, but they're doing it on their own AI, whichever model they're using, right? It's not sanctioned by the company. Most likely they're sharing documentation that they shouldn't be sharing, and it's going there that it's public. So if we don't put some guardrails and some statistics and documentation of what's allowed and not allowed within the organization and train everybody and enable everybody to use AI in a way that will add value to the company, not just to save time, because of course, productivity is key, but it's the least denominator, but to add value. Then we will see what will happen. Otherwise, what I see is a massive implosion in the next year and a half.
Okay, before I let David comment a bit on it, because he's already, I want to talk. But governance, so tomorrow you have the solution for everybody. We can move on, right? Governance is taking time, a lot of time. So, and this is, again, you know, we need to tackle this to see it. David, come on.
Well, I was going to actually reflect a little bit on what Stuart said, and Marianne to an extent, that digital transformation, if people take it and have a mindset shift about what they're doing, there's a positive. But I wanted to highlight a positive, and I wanted to highlight something that's a little bit negative, certainly in the UK market. So as a positive, I think in Simwood, we've really come to the conclusion that we are a software solution provider.
Yes, you are.
That happens to have a carrier stack strapped to it to distribute it. So that's a bit of a mindset shift. One of the places where things are getting held back in this digital transformation are the red button services. You know, the pendants that old ladies wear, and old men as well. And if they fall over, they press the button. Now, that's part of the reason why in the UK, the big switch off was delayed from 2025 to 2027, because the people that do these systems are trying to be in the analog world where they convey tones across a digital network to, you know, demonstrate different things are happening. And on the one hand, it's holding them back. On the other hand, it's actually creating opportunities for people that realize they're in the information traffic world rather than the old people world to actually get a solution. And so I think when people shift properly, that actually might impinge on your bit in the IoT world, won't it?
No, we absolutely see that already. I mean, those red buttons are already, they should be replaced, because there's technology out there that will be able to tell, even if you're shaky getting up, before you fall over. So it understands how your movement changes. But I think everybody has to develop, the whole industry has to develop to embrace AI, because if it doesn't evolve, it's going to be like a moth. The moths were happily fluttering around for millions of years, and then we turned on lights and they were all screwed. So what we need to do is you need to make sure you're not a moth. So you need to start embracing everything. You need to start embracing the IoT. You need to start upgrades and AI.
I think that's a key takeaway, Eric. Don't be a moth.
No, don't be a moth, exactly. But Jimmy, and maybe then Nas, I want to hear you. Because we're mentioning IoT and, you know, what in IoT, whatever, but it's fading away a little bit. And so I want to actually get it back on the block, you know, because without it, we're lost anyway, right? We should be completely lost. So, Jimmy, can you tell me what's the current state of the IoT, and maybe on the IoT connectivity, because they're different things, and how are IoT players addressing the demand for the global IoT?
So IoT is central to AI. You need, the more data you have, the more powerful AI is. And it doesn't matter if it's from us surfing the net or your light bulb coming on or whatever it is, that's all feeding into the same data pool. And that the bigger that data pool, faster it learns, the better AI is. Dumb that down a bit. What I would say with the globalization is you have to have it, because IoT is huge volumes to make the money. So you'll see that in devices, for instance. So if you look at security for a device, everything boils back. There'll be different regulations across the globe, but you look at them, they'll all boil back to ETSI 303.645. Boring am I knowing that number, but they all boil down to that. So you can trace their origins back. The problem comes with AI, and AI is similar actually. There's an ISO for that, like 27001, but I can't remember the number for that. The issue comes with telco itself as well, because we're talking about globally, but then we have siloed countries. So if you want to do a global play and you want to go to an MVNO because, or Zariat preferably, because you want to use our overlay, then obviously you can't work in Turkey. We have to then go and talk to Turkcell and try and organize something with them. It's similar if we go to Brazil, different places like that. So we, as an industry, we're hamstrung in ourselves. So we want to try, we need to start working together. I think there's a very important point that you brought up with some of the MNOs are so large that they can't be agile enough, whereas an MVNO can be agile. I think there's a good position where we should be paying you a decent amount of money for our narrowband IoT or whatever it is. We need to be giving you a decent amount for that. But then MNOs can realize that actually we are a little bit more agile and we can do those little things. So we've been talking, we've spoken to a couple of MNOs actually about becoming a sort of skunk works, where we take some of your leads that you don't want to do, and then if they turn into the next Amazon, we agree to give them back. So, and we agree to use your data, if it's possible, we just roam it onto T-Mobile wherever possible in that country. So there's lots of different things we can do.
Federico?
It's funny you bring this up, because what we observed quite a while back is that we are internally with our IoT unit, it's too big. There's too many people. The platform is way too inflexible. So all in all, we're not competitive. So what we did is we launched, apart from our legacy IT and apart from our legacy business, an own MVNO called Once.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, thanks for the pricing plan on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So this was a way out for us here in the IoT market. But apart from that, for the connectivity part, and probably Marianne can support that, we're actually going backwards regulatory wise, because there is more regulation in terms of no permanent roaming, for example. Data privacy regulations, map data cannot leave the country, so you have to do the updates in country and stuff like that. So all this, that there are signs that it's going backwards. I'm wondering, what this will mean. And on the other side, that's an opportunity for the satellite providers, because they do not have those issues.
Of course.
Yeah, they have the same issue though, because what happens is, how do you have a satellite over Europe? You need how do you turn off the satellite as it goes over Luxembourg, because Luxembourg's the only country that hasn't got the satellite coverage. It's impossible. So as an industry, otherwise we just let Mayotte and LoRaWAN and people like that start to pick up eat our dog food. Why are we not taking that business? Why are we not reacting and trying to, instead of being locked down, start working together? It's better to have something of a big pie than all of a little pie.
Okay, Marianne, you want to say something about what Federico said?
Yeah, exactly to your point. We're seeing a fragmented regulatory landscape in Europe. Especially, it's hurting our competitiveness against the US, China. I think the European Union here has really something to do, and the European Commission is listening.
Maybe they can wake up. Maybe they can wake up a little bit.
They try.
Or is it us not educating them?
It's both.
The lobby wrong.
It's both. I think we are in a very interesting timing right now, because we have the review of the European Electrommunication Code. We have a new piece of legislation with the Digital Network Act, and sorry for another one. And we have the review of the roaming regulations. And this is very important for IoT connectivity. Those are global services, as you said, Jim. It's global services needing global connectivity. And here we have permanent roaming actually not outside of the scope of the roaming regulation. So I think there are some work here. So let's see how it unfolds in the next months.
Okay, thank you so much. Nas?
I want to take it back to your original question, which is IoT still relevant, and bring it back into the picture? And Jimmy did a really good job to say it's very relevant, because, and I maintain, everything is going to be connected and everyone is going to be connected. Something I've been saying for the past 5 years, if
So
not
I
longer.
cannot flee to a Robinson Crusoe
It's
island.
happen. We like it or not, it's the way, our world is moving. Machines will be connected and we will be augmented, through that connectivity, and AI is going to be our co-pilots. So we cannot escape that reality. It's happening, we like it or not, but let's make it a little bit more touchable and a little bit more practical. What does that mean? It means that we need to have connectivity, because without connectivity, nothing moves. Now, if the MNOs and the operators are, pardon, but I'm not judging, but say, get their act together and get a hold of what's happening there, good enough. Otherwise, the pie will be taken by all those other modes of connectivity. And I think, what Jimmy proposed and what is happening and how you guys at T-Mobile, you've created a new entity for for your IoT, it's a good way forward. But the operators are becoming and are the pipe. So they need to decide, do they want to stay on the pipe, but then charge appropriately for that pipe and allow everybody else who's more agile to do the over the top and do the services and collaborate, but enable those companies to do what they need to do. So that's a decision that they need to take. So connectivity is necessary, absolutely. Data is everywhere. You said very well, we have too much data. We have so much data. Data has been commoditized. Intelligence has been commoditized. But not all intelligence and all data is relevant. That's another decision that we'll need to make of what is relevant, what we're going to pay attention to, and what are we going to regulate.
And who decides that?
That's the million-dollar question, because I think that's what we see the bottleneck, right? Who's going to decide what? And regulation is trying to help us with that decision. But unfortunately, regulations in Europe is not the same as the US. It's not the same as in Asia. And we're trying to have a global body of, regulators and trying to come to an agreement between us. But it's too slow.
27 states are in the EU and 23 different definitions of a definition. So, but we need to move on. All right. Getting a bit to the end of this panel session, and thank you for all your insights. I want to do just a quick closing round for everybody, and maybe you have volunteer if you want, if you have a takeaway from this panel to the audience, and for, of course, our online listeners. Anybody who wants to start? Federico.
Be quick or be dead.
There you go. Marianne. Be dead or be quick?
Almost, yes. Regulation is not the end of the day, and I think clearly there is a lot to jump on this disruptive journey and need some higher regulatory effort.
Okay, thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, I would say going back to what we're talking about in the AI and that, I think what Marianne said was very good. We should use AI to augment ourselves and our business. It shouldn't be used to replace things. That can be a nightmare. We've found that ourselves using AI routing manager. You always need people at the end of the day, but definitely it can be used to augment. And I think the demonstration was a great way of showcasing that. And yeah, I would say that, we need to be adaptable, as Rodrigo said, be quick or be dead, change our view on what we're doing, which is basically facilitating information between humans, be they working for companies or privately. And we should use the tools and be aware of the tools that are available now in changing world, AI, IoT, all the things we discussed today. But at the same time, we do need to be careful with this, both from a regulatory perspective, and also for our own selves and for touching on what we spoke about this morning, right? That from a personal perspective and from our company's perspective, we need to be careful about the information, how we safeguard that information, how we share it, etc.
But Marianne will help us to make sure,
I hope she will.
And she will gonna show us the path. Nas.
Okay, so a lot has been covered already, so I'm going to say something. And if you want to hear the story, you come to my keynote tomorrow morning. But your customers are not buying messaging anymore or connectivity anymore. What they're buying and where they're investing is customer experience. So I will leave it at that.
And for that, I mean, tomorrow morning it is at 10-ish?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. I'm still in bed or having my coffee, but no kidding. No, but Nassau will be there. But very interesting topic, and please be here to hear it. Jim, your takeaway.
I think the takeaway is there's no silver bullet, and even if there was, not everything's a werewolf.
Okay, I'm happy that I'm the Sundance Kid, right? Famous last words from this panel, please, David.
Yeah, on the AI augmentation front, people are already becoming aware and resistant to AI slop in things. And so on the augmentation front, we really need to use AI to double down on our human connection. And I'll give you just a simple...
What does it mean?
Here's
Counselor?
here's a simple example. For instance, instead of saying AI, ChatGPT, please write my CV, it might be, I'm going for an interview with company X, look them up on the website and suggest which parts of my CV I need to accentuate and then leave it with me to do it. In other words, give me the ideas, not the content.
Okay. And my takeaway would be, you know, at the end of this week, you know, I'll sign all the Eric T-shirts. So don't worry about that. I'll do that for sure. No, but as an old bugger, you know, sometimes just have a coffee with human beings, you know, and you know, forget for a second the AI and everything. I know, but just for a second, because you'll enjoy that quick moment. Anyway. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the audience. Thank you online for joining us. And again, I think in 10, 20 minutes, we'll have the last panel discussion of the day where we have people from AM6 coming and whatever. So more to come here. Anto, are you there? Anto is also there from Sparkle to on our next panel. So I would like to thank dearly my panelists, Marianne, Federico, Stuart, Nasia, of course, Jimmy and David. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening in.